Hello and welcome to a warm and sunny edition of Business Daily with me, Justin Rowlatt. Sunny because today in our series of programmes about human hormones, we look at vitamin D. Yes, it is a hormone and it's one your body cannot produce without adequate exposure to sunshine. And that is a problem thanks to our increasingly indoor working lives.
We start at 10:30 and we would end at 6:30. So it doesn't really give much time unless you want to run outside in the lunch break for an hour.
So does less sunshine mean a bonanza for the supplements industry?
It has really exploded. Every Indian pharma company now makes vitamin D.
Sunbathing versus pill popping on Business Daily. We've come out to Charterhouse Square with Professor Maralyn Druce of St Bartholomew's Hospital, who's our expert on hormones. But you've brought me out into the square in the dying embers of today. Why? Because of the sun, am I right?
That's right, or possibly because the absence of the sun. So one of the things we were going to try and help you with today was increase your stores of vitamin D. And we've got a bit of trouble doing that because, of course, the way we make that is using UVB light from the sun.
So UVB, ultraviolet light.
That's right. Now, you may already be a bit perplexed because I've just said we're going to talk about a vitamin. But I'm going to make the case that actually vitamin D is not a vitamin, it's a hormone.
OK, you're going to have to explain that to me. Let me just describe a little about where we are. So we're bordered on one side by the research bit of your hospital, St Bartholomew's Hospital in London. On the other side by a rather magnificent ancient old building. It's a former monastery, is it?
The arches over there were at one stage used to play football, I'm told, by the monks, but it's a very nice setting for research.
If by a very nice setting you mean a beautiful garden. I'm still dealing with the idea of football playing monks, but we'll move on from them to talk about vitamin D. Why might vitamin D not be a vitamin but be a hormone?
OK, so a vitamin really is something that you have to take in your diet. Vitamin D isn't like that. It's the only so-called vitamin that actually you can make yourself. You can take it in your diet. Oily fish, for example, if you're a big salmon fan, pilchards, shiitake mushrooms. But actually the best source is sunlight, and UVB rays cause you to convert cholesterol in your skin into vitamin D, and then it goes off all around and does its job all around the body on various organs.
Yeah, because I was thinking vitamin D, I know it as something that is good for strong bones, but you're saying it has effects throughout the body.
So the classical places it works on things that regulate your calcium. Bones is really important, and also muscle. So actually, if you're very deficient in vitamin D, you can get weak muscles. And the elderly don't only suffer more bony fractures if they fall, but they suffer a greater frequency of falls.
At its most extreme, a shortage of vitamin D is associated with rickets, isn't it?
When children's bones are developing, they need to make strong, straight bones. If you have rickets, that's a deficiency of being able to mineralise those bones. And because your bones are still growing while you're not mineralising them, the bones get kind of bendy. So you'll have seen pictures of children with these kind of curved, arched legs.
What used to be known as bow legs, and you still actually do see that occasionally in places like India where I'm living at the moment.
And not just India, but actually there's been an increase in incidence back in the UK again. And in adults there's an equivalent condition called osteomalacia, in which you get bony pains and you can get an increased risk of bony fractures.
So it's just after 4 o'clock, the sun's gone down now. At these latitudes, obviously that happens every winter, so we get less sunlight. Does that mean there's more vitamin D deficiency, or do our bodies compensate for it, for example, by people developing white pigment in their skin at higher latitudes?
So we certainly are not living in a great latitude, partly because our country only gets UV light at the right angle for a certain period of the year. UV gets cut out by clouds. We're very affected by clouds. It's cold. I'm freezing, so I'm very covered up. Dark skin is a less efficient converter of cholesterol to vitamin D, but there's not actually a good evidence that different colour skins living at the same latitude have different levels of vitamin D deficiency. But then there are factors at play that aren't just how much sun is available in the sky, but also how much exposure you allow yourself to have. 10 minutes of appropriate sunshine in the day with your arms and legs out is sufficient. And you'll see I've brought you specially something that dermatologists would be very keen that you wear at all times, which is some sunscreen, factor 50, for our sunny British climes. And it does have, as you can see on the back, some advanced UVA and UVB protection.
Now, I would put some of this on if only the sun was up, So let me just spray a bit on my hand anyway, just for the sake of it. Oh, actually, it's really good. It's clear. That's a very expensive one, isn't it?
It is, you know, well, you have very expensive children, very expensive sun creams. Protecting yourself from the sun's rays is clearly an important thing. But in so doing, we've got an issue because we need those sun's rays to help us make our vitamin D.
But there are ways of addressing it. I mean, we've got some here, haven't we? From your office. We've got a box of vitamin D tablets. So I could take one of these. Is this going to be as effective as, you know, an afternoon on the beach?
So it won't be as effective, but the way in which we treat patients who have vitamin D deficiency is to supplement them back up to the levels that they should have with exactly this kind of thing.
Is it all right for me? Because we've asked. I know the producer, Laurence, who's very keen for me to take dangerous drugs at any time. He's tried to persuade you to give me all sorts of hormones, and you've refused consistently. Is this one hormone I'm allowed to take?
So firstly, you have to take really quite a lot for it to be problematic, but I regret to tell you that Laurence has bought you an exceptionally low dose formulation.
Oh, has he?
And as such, you are perfectly safe to take at least a couple of those tablets
Right, well, I will
without
take
any
2
difficulty.
on that. I mean, obviously, one shouldn't encourage pill taking for no good reason, but on this occasion, I suppose there's some tenuous scientific purpose to this. Let me take a couple of these tablets. Yeah, there they go. What physiological effects is that going to have?
That will do absolutely nothing in an immediate sense. So vitamin D, once you make it, you store it in your fat stores and it sits there as a kind of reservoir.
But if I was vitamin D deficient, obviously it would, taking
It
regular
would, over
doses.
the course of time, build your stores back up to where they should be, but it would require a consistent dosage for a period of time. So again, your 2 tablets are perfectly safe.
Dr Maralyn Druce of St Bart's Hospital. And indeed, I can reassure you that I've had no nasty side effects from those puny supplements that Laurence bought for me. But that didn't stop me visiting a hospital once I got back home to India. So I've come to the outskirts of Delhi and one of the city's vast hospitals. It's called Medanta at Medi City. And I've just come up to the 5th floor, the endocrinology department. So the patient's in room number 15?
Yes, she complained of calf muscle pain. Hello.
Hello, what is your name?
Sudha Rajput.
Sudha Rajput. So you have vitamin D deficiency?
Yes. 6 months ago, there was pain in my fingers or feet. It was very difficult to move me immediately after sitting for a long time.
And you feel pain in your muscles?
I feel very uncomfortable, stiffness.
But this is quite a severe handicap for you. It's hard to get up when you sit down.
Yes.
Now, why is your vitamin D level so low?
Actually, all the time I stay at home. I don't like to go in sunlight.
Can I ask why you don't want to go in the sun?
So I feel that I would be black.
Your skin would go dark.
Yeah, my skin is a little sensitive.
Yeah, and that is very common in India.
Yeah,
Most
yeah.
women are sensitive about their skin colour.
So I'll just introduce.
Hi, Doctor. Dr Ambrish Mithal. You're the senior consultant, aren't you? Has just joined us in the room. Mrs. Rajput has been explaining that she had these pains in her legs. How common are these kind of symptoms here in India?
This is a classic osteomalacia. I have seen much more severe cases, people being wheeled in on a stretcher or a wheelchair. And the good part about osteomalacia is she will recover 100%.
Excellent. You're going to be okay. I mean, it really isn't that unusual walking around the streets of Delhi to see people who have the classic bow legs, which are a symptom of rickets.
You also see a lot of D problems in newborns because if the mothers are seriously deficient. So it's all very well to say India is a sunny country, but actually the fact that Indians don't like going in the sun, we are scared of tanning culturally, we are scared of the heat, obviously it's very hot.
I have to say to anyone who hasn't been in India, the Indian summer is very, very punishing.
Yes.
Temperatures can go as high as 47
Yes,
degrees
Every
centigrade.
year.
And the pollution is so high in metro cities like Delhi that often the UV doesn't even reach the ground.
There were a couple of studies done in the last 2 years which actually looked at children in schools in winter, 1 month of supervised 30-minute exposure midday. Nothing happened to their D levels. So quite clearly, at least in larger cities like Delhi, you're not getting enough UV beta rays on your skin. But also remember, when you talk of D levels in Europe and most of North America, you're talking of food being fortified with D. Milk, yogurt, all milk products. And that's something that is just beginning to take off in India. The government has taken steps to set standards for defortification, both milk and edible oil, which would, I think, be a great step.
So, Dr. Mithal, how has the market changed for treatments for vitamin D deficiency?
It has really exploded. 20 years ago, there was, I think, one brand which was sometimes even hard to procure. And now I think there must be 100 brands of D. And there's a very substantial financial turnover from vitamin D. Now, even though the product itself is very cheap, sheer volumes make up for that. So in terms of industry, I think they're happy with it. However, the other side of the story is that sometimes in over-enthusiasm, doctors as well as patients overdose with vitamin D. We are seeing some cases which is very disturbing for me, where people have been pumped in 100-fold more D than they should have.
What happens when you have too much vitamin D?
You can get very high calcium. It can be very serious. It can affect your kidneys. It can even affect your brain.
Dr Ambrish Mithal at the Medi City in Gurgaon on the outskirts of Delhi. You're listening to a Business Daily special about the hormone vitamin D. And for those of you living in the developed world who assume that vitamin D deficiency is only a problem for places like India, I have bad news. It isn't. For example, one study in sunny Australia in 2011 found that 42% of office workers there were deficient by the end of winter. Aussies are constantly reminded to slip on a shirt, slop on some cream and slap on a hat when they go outdoors in the intense sun. But it seems many of them are also spending too much time indoors, chained to their desks. And they aren't the only ones whose jobs prevent them from getting enough UV, as our very own Laurence Knight discovered on a trip to the British city of Birmingham.
It's an incredible lift, isn't it? It looks so effortless.
Yep, it's got all her weight straight above his head on dead straight arms.
So I'm here at the Birmingham Royal Ballet and we're just watching two performers in one of the studios rehearsing, and I'm here with Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma Khan and I work in the marketing department at Birmingham Royal Ballet. We're watching a pas de deux from Coppelia at the moment. When you are up close in the rehearsal room like this, you really appreciate the control and the strength that's required, especially for some of those big lifts.
Exactly, I mean close up you can see how much stress, for example, the female performer is under when she's right up on the toe, and you can see her leg is actually working hard to hold steady as she was being slowly rotated.
Yes, you need really strong feet.
Well, that strength and also the ever-present threat of incurring some kind of injury is a real issue for ballet dancers here.
The job is very physically strenuous and stressful, which already brings in its own element of risk in terms of injuries. Part of what the study was looking into is how an intake of vitamin D can help avoid some of those injuries.
Presumably one of the first things that happened was that you had your vitamin D levels measured. Was it a surprise for you when you were told? Was it low? And what?
Well, I mean, yeah, it was.
Celine Gittens and Kit Holder are two of the performers in the forthcoming production of Daleb's Coppelia. And you're a married couple.
We are.
That's right, yeah.
Is that unusual in the ballet?
I don't know if it's so unusual. I think it's helpful. You know, we work quite antisocial hours a lot of the time.
One of the issues with vitamin D is that you spend a lot of time indoors.
We start at 10:30 and we would end at 6:30. So it doesn't really give much time unless you want to run outside in the lunch break for an hour.
Obviously, one of the key issues with vitamin D is the risk of injury.
Yeah.
And Celine, in your case, you actually had if you'll pardon the awful pun, a bit of a career break thanks to an injury of one of your colleagues.
Yeah, it was on tour in Japan, and I had to pick up the opening night performance of Swan Lake with hours' notice.
So we're walking down a corridor to another part of the ballet with Emma.
We're just going to the Jowood Centre now, which is our kind of gym facilities and injury prevention facilities.
There we go, and it is indeed quite an impressive gym. There's a lot of kit in here. weightlifting. We've got some other equipment which I've never seen before. I'm not entirely sure what that is. I guess they're kind of little woolly hoops.
That's all the Pilates equipment. It's
Pilates,
quite different
okay.
from what you see in a normal gym.
We were seeing bone injuries, muscle tendon, muscle injuries. My name is Dr Nick Allen. I am the clinical director here at the Jerwood Centre, which is the medical facility for Birmingham Royal Ballet Company. And we were able to show in winter 100% of our dancers were either insufficient or deficient. So our second phase of the research was to actually take a group of the dancers and supplement them over a 4-month period. The group that took the vitamin D had changes in both their strength and their power, all things that are very important from a dance perspective, and had lower injury rates than those who didn't take vitamin D.
So it's getting on now for about 5 years since you published that study. Have other ballets, in fact, other organisations, gymnastics schools, have they also been in touch with you to adopt your best practice here?
So I know the GB track and field guys. I think within the elite performance community there's a very good awareness as to the potential benefits of vitamin D.
You've presumably rolled this programme out to all of the performers. You said supplements, so that you have them popping pills or...?
Well, they're all adults, they all have to make their own decisions, and so we would make almost a blanket recommendation that they should take vitamin D all through the winter period, and then the dancers are within their own rights to say, do you know what, I'm going to take some vitamin D to help. And if you speak to the dancers, those who take it can feel and recognise the difference.
Since I've started taking vitamin D, strength-wise, it does give energy. It does give energy.
This vitamin D study has been one of the things that we're lucky to benefit from and then share globally amongst the dance community and hopefully drive dance forward.
That was ballet dancer Kit Holder ending that report by Laurence Knight. And that brings us to the end of this programme, but I'll be back with a hormone that is reputed to make you feel all cuddly and warm inside. And to get you in the mood, I'll leave you with some of that lovely music we opened this programme with, the ballet Coppelia by Delibes.